Hello, Atlantia. I noticed that we're all at home right now, and we're going to have to make the best of what we've got for the time being. So, what I thought I would do is I've been watching videos of people practicing. I've been seeing a lot of people post stuff online, and it's great to have such an online presence right now. So I want to talk to people about a few things that I'm seeing that are just little tiny adjustments that you can make that will really help your practice. So I got a couple of things for your feet, a couple of things for your sword arm, a couple of things for your core. So a few things to start off with is I see a lot of people doing Italian Rapier right now. I think that's really, really great. Very excited to see that. Very happy about it. And I want to make sure that everybody is doing the right sorts of things to maximize their performance and also to not develop any bad habits or injure themselves, importantly. So one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of people doing is, one, standing with their legs very straight. And one of the things that you'll just need to do is develop your legs so that you can actually kind of get low so that you can explode forward. Along those lines, what's critical and often overlooked is that this back line here, whether you have your foot at a right angle, turned back slightly, or what have you, your heel and your hip and your shoulder need to be stacked up in one straight line. So not like this. This is a no-no. So even though I've got my foot back, I've got my knee back here, my hip is not over my heel. So I've got a cantilever effect going with my thigh here, and I don't have the explosive mobility that I need. What you want to do instead, my knee is right over my toe, my heel is right under my hip, and my shoulder is right over my hip and heel in a straight line. This gives me the support that I need to be able to move. Now, I'm not necessarily saying I'm doing everything perfect. Both my hips are screwed up right now. I've been in physical therapy for a lot of the last year. Just listen to what I'm saying, and I'm doing my best with what I've got here. But you want the hip, the heel, and the shoulder all stacked up. And when you do lunge, you want to drive through your heel. Stay off your toes. Absolutely stay off your toes. It's mechanically inferior. It gives you extra hinges, and it also uses muscles that are smaller than the big ones in your thigh, and it also engages ones that are working in opposition to those big muscles. If you're on your toes, you're using these little things down here, not these big things up here as much. Okay. You also want to stay off the balls of your foot when you lunge, because you can see this when people do it. If you lunge and you go onto the ball of your foot, see how my leg wobbles? Okay, watch out for that. If you see or feel yourself wobbling, you're putting tension on your knee and you're off balance. Your stability isn't there. What you want to have happen with your lunge is you want to either come down flat on your front foot or heel toe with stability. You don't want to move after you land. Okay, see how everything just kind of plops into place? Okay. And when you do a recovery, same thing. So it's all stacked up nice and good here, driving through my heel, not the ball of my feet. I have my arm extension. I have my arm extension here. And I step and I recover by drawing back, and I'm pushing through my heel again on the recovery. It's heel toe, toe comes up, push through the heel. If you bring your head back while you do that, the inertia brings you back into place, and notice how I'm all stacked up here again and ready to go. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Something else that's really important is you need to tuck your tailbone, because it can be really tempting because it's comfortable. Like, oh, I'm ready to go. and drop down and be like this with your butt stuck out. That screws up everything down here, so you need to make sure you're tucking your tailbone. If you're doing a Fabricy sort of thing, and you want to have that lean, then you bring your hips back, because one of the things you still want to be able to do is lift your foot up off the ground without shifting too much. Hopefully that makes sense. So we have our tailbone tucked, we have the stack, and two other things that I'm seeing a lot of that you should try to avoid are, a lot of people are doing this with their sword because they want to keep it kind of in the center of their bodies, and this is what you end up showing. And there's not really a lot of range of motion to go in any further when you're lined up like this. So you want to take that hilt and keep it outside your lead knee. Because what ends up happening is, when I stick my arm out straight, I end up closing that line off naturally without having to do any work. It just happens. It's great. The great thing about good mechanics is they work whether you want them to or not. So I've got my hilt outside of my knee. And something else that I'm seeing, this is a great opportunity for all of us to get the strength to do this, is a lot of people get tired and they withdraw their arm because it starts to get too heavy. So look at how much of me is exposed, and this is what my parry looks like now. This is what my parry looks like if my arm's back there. If it's out here forward, then that's how much I cover of my body, and I barely even need to use anything other than just rotating at the elbow, rotating the forearm and moving at the elbow. Okay, so stack all this up, actually stack it, get that foot out there. Oh, also, side note on the feet, I'm seeing a lot of people standing like this. That's pretty bad for your balance. Kick the front foot out a little bit. If somebody can shove you over, your fencing stance needs to have a wider base. Okay, so this is all stacked up. I've got my foot out just to the side. Core is engaged. Tailbone is tucked. Arm is forward. Hilt is just outside the knee. This is, up here doing stuff to protect my head. And two last points. These are both really, really important. So I need to keep my blade in line with my forearm pretty much at all times. I mean, obviously if I'm doing, that's an exception. But in general, I want to keep my blade in line with my forearm at all times. And that's because if I don't, if I'm here like this, look at how big my cavazione is. Look at how awkward that is. If I have it straight, I can make a much subtler motion, and I'm moving around the point of intersection, not the point of intersection, the center of mass of the blade as the pivot point. And what I'm essentially doing is using the weight of the blade to counteract its own weight on the other side. And so I don't have to do a lot of energy. I don't have to put a lot of work into this to make it move, and so I don't wear my arm out. And the last thing is, when you are gripping your sword, these are the fingers that do the squeezing. Okay, so these two, they're stronger and they help you keep your blade in line with your forearm. So when I'm here, I'm not even using these front fingers. Think of it like scissors, where you're using these forward fingers and your thumb to guide, but the ones doing the real lifting, the real heavy lifting, are these back ones. Because if you grip with the front ones, see how uncontrolled it becomes? That just doesn't happen if you hold your sword this way. It's just mechanically better. So as a quick review, stack heel, hip, and shoulder Stay off the balls of your feet, drive through your heels. Tuck your tailbone, keep your spine, your core engaged and your spine straight. Stay profiled and linear. Sword arm is forward, held forward outside of your lead knee. The parries happen at this distance by rotating from quarta to seconda. When you lunge, you have the extension and you follow through and everything plants with no wobble. You recover by pushing through with your heel and getting right back to your guard. And you grip with your ring and pinky finger predominantly so that you have greater control over your blade and things stay linear. If it's in line with your forearm, you're making a lever out of this for when you find the sword, and the center of mass for that is going to be in your forearm because you're using the weapon as an extension of your body at that point, and you get a lot more leverage and strength. If you're like this and you try to do the same thing, you disconnect yourself from all of these muscles, and you're basically using your wrist instead of your forearm. And I don't think there's anybody out there who's got stronger wrist ligaments and tendons than they do forearm muscles. Okay. I hope that helps. I hope that we all get through this safely. We've got who knows how long to practice on our own. If you're going to do stuff on your own, and I hope that you are, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure that you do stuff right. Don't get any bad habits. Study something. If you have questions, reach out to the people that know and reach out to the people that you can trust to give you a good answer about stuff. I hope this has been helpful. I love you all.